Today we're doing a deep dive into the 2024 iPad mini 7 and seeing how it stacks up against the iPad mini 6 from 2021. So is it actually worth the upgrade? At first glance they look super similar, but Apple's made some strategic changes here that could make all the difference, especially if you're using it for work, content creation, or just everyday tasks. By the end of this video, you'll know if the mini 7 is the right upgrade for you or if your mini 6 is still good to go. Let's dive right in. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Alright, let's take it back a bit. The iPad mini 6 launched in 2021, quickly becoming a go-to for people wanting the perfect balance of portability and power. It's compact, but it's got enough power for daily tasks, browsing, light gaming, and even some creative work. Now for me personally, the mini 6 has been a great tool for my content creation. I use it for everything from organizing shot lists to jotting down ideas on the go. And while I mostly rely on my M4 iPad Pro for more intensive work, the mini 6 has been a handy little sidekick for lighter tasks and quick content edits. But now with the mini 7, I was curious, would this updated version bring enough changes to make it a true upgrade for things like multitasking, heavier editing, and daily productivity? Well, let's break down all the updates from the physical design to performance, display improvements, and more. Let's kick things off with what's inside the box. Alright, so starting with the unboxing experience, there's not much that's changed here. Apple kept things pretty consistent with the previous mini packaging. The box design is almost identical to the mini 6 with a similar wallpaper. One cool change though is Apple switched from plastic wrap to pull tabs, which is nice for anyone who likes their packaging eco-friendly. Now something interesting to note, Apple is calling this the iPad mini A17 Pro rather than the 7th gen. So they're really putting that focus on that new processor, which we'll talk about in a bit. For colors, I picked up the blue version and I'll be honest, under certain lighting, it looks more like a grayish blue, almost silver. So if you're expecting a bright or saturated blue, you may want to check it out in person. It looks awesome though, and out of all the colors, this one is my favorite. Alright, so now that it's set up and ready to go, let's dive into what's actually changed on the outside. So let's talk about design and dimensions. When you hold these two side by side, they look almost identical. Apple didn't change much here. They're the same size, with the mini 7 measuring in at 7.69 inches in length, 5.3 inches wide, and just 0.25 inches thick. This compact form factor is honestly perfect if you're looking for something you can take anywhere. For me, it's awesome to slip in a bag or even a larger pocket. Now, whether you're traveling, heading to a shoot, or just going out for the day, it's light, easy to carry, and powerful enough for most tasks. There are a few subtle updates to mention. The back now says iPad mini instead of iPad, and the serial number and model number are placed a bit differently. The magnetic connector on the side is also slightly slimmer to accommodate the Apple Pencil Pro, which we'll get into later. And for colors, Apple swapped pink for blue, but space gray is still available, which is probably my go-to if I want something more classic and understated. All in all, Apple's approach here is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And honestly, the design still holds up well. My only minor complaint is the bezels. It's quite thick and I'm a bit disappointed that they didn't reduce the size for this new iPad. Would have made for a more sleeker appearance and cohesiveness with other newer Apple products. Alright, so onto the display. Now this is a hot topic because a lot of us were hoping for an upgrade here, but I'll tell you up front, Apple kept things the same. Both the mini 6 and mini 7 have the 8.3-inch liquid retina display with 500 nits of peak brightness, P3 color support, and a standard 60 Hz refresh rate. Now if you're used to ProMotion on an iPad Pro or even newer iPhones, switching back to 60 Hz is quite noticeable. With ProMotion, you get smoother scrolling, faster animations, and it's just a different feel overall. So if you're like me and you're switching between ProMotion displays and the mini, you're going to notice the lack of 120 Hz here, and this might be a deal breaker to some. That being said, the display is still sharp, colorful, and vibrant. It's perfectly fine for watching videos, doing some light editing, or reading. But if you're coming from a high refresh rate display, it can feel like a bit of a step back and almost kind of like a downgrade. This literally would have made this the perfect iPad to get if they had upgraded the display, but maybe we'll get an iPad mini Pro, but that's just wishful thinking. And then there's jelly scrolling. This was a big issue with the mini 6, but not something I noticed all that much. If you're not familiar with it, jelly scrolling happens when one side of the screen refreshes a bit slower than the other, causing almost a wobble effect during scrolling. In the mini 7, it's less noticeable, especially in portrait mode. If you were someone who was really bothered by it on the mini 6, the mini 7 should feel like an improvement. Again, for most people, you're not really going to notice it. Now let's get into the real upgrades, which is performance. This is where the mini 7 starts to show some real differences. The mini 6 has an A15 Bionic chip, which was solid back in 2021. It handles basic multitasking, streaming, and even some light gaming, but In 2024, it's starting to feel a bit dated if you're pushing it. The Mini 7 though is packing the A17 Pro chip, the same one in the iPhone 15 Pro. We're talking about a 30% faster CPU and 25% faster GPU compared to the Mini 6. And yes, you can feel that difference. This thing flies through multitasking, loads games quicker, and even opens heavy apps with ease. A key feature with the A17 Pro is hardware accelerated ray tracing. This means more realistic lighting and shadows in games. Think console level like graphics, but on an iPad. I tested it out with some intense games like Call of Duty Mobile, and it's pretty impressive. The visuals are smoother, the gameplay is snappier, and overall, it's just a better experience. The A17 Pro also brings in dynamic caching, which makes sure the memory is allocated more efficiently based on what you're doing. So if you're doing something memory heavy like gaming, photo editing, or multitasking, this setup makes everything feel smoother and more responsive. Plus, with the 8GB of RAM versus 4GB on the Mini 6, the Mini 7 is noticeably better at handling multiple apps, picture-in-picture, and even background processes without lagging. For me, as someone who uses the Mini in a content creation workflow, like checking shot lists, making quick photo edits in Lightroom, or even sketching out ideas, the improved speed is fantastic. This makes it a more capable tool for those quick on-the-go edits when I don't have my iPad Pro around. And also, Final Cut Pro is supported on this new iPad mini. This could be also useful if you're trying to edit some quick TikToks or Instagram Reels. It's pretty good and can edit 4K clips with no hassle. Let's talk about Apple Pencil support because this is a game changer if you're a designer, note taker, or creator. Both the Mini 6 and 7 support the 2nd gen Apple Pencil, but the Mini 7 goes further by supporting the new Apple Pencil Pro. So what does this actually mean? Well, the Apple Pencil Pro brings hover functionality. This allows you to see where your stroke will land before you even make contact with the screen, giving you more control. It's like having a cursor for your Apple Pencil. For artists and designers, this is huge. You can preview strokes, make precise lines, and have a more natural workflow. You also get some of the new features like barrel roll, which lets you twist the pencil in your fingers to see different effects, and a squeezy click haptic feedback that feels like you're pressing a button, giving you on-screen menus or tool options. If you're looking to upgrade for creativity or design, the Mini 7 with the Apple Pencil Pro could be a big win. And good news for anyone who's already invested in cases and accessories, Mini 6 cases work on the Mini 7 as well. So you don't need to replace all your gear, which is great if you already got a setup that you love. Alright, if you're someone who uses the Mini for photography or scanning, the Mini 7 offers some subtle improvements. Both the Mini 6 and Mini 7 have a 12 megapixel rear camera, but the Mini 7 upgrades to Smart HDR4, which means better dynamic range, especially in brighter conditions. So if you're taking photos outside, your images should have a little bit more balance between highlights and shadows. The flash also has been upgraded to True Tone, providing more even lighting for things like document scanning or low light shots. Speaking of document scanning, the A17 chip handles it well. I noticed sharper, cleaner scans with reduced shadows, which is actually a big deal if you use your iPad to scan documents or receipts on the go. Now, connectivity is another area where the Mini 7 pulls ahead. Both models have USB-C, but the Mini 7 has faster USB-C 3.1 Gen 2 port, which offers faster data transfer speeds compared to the Mini 6. If you're transferring large files or working with external storage, that speed bump makes a real difference. The Mini 7 also comes with Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3, so if you're using the latest routers or Bluetooth accessories, you'll get faster and more stable connections. And heads up for anyone who uses the cellular model, the Mini 7 is eSIM only, so if you're used to swapping SIM cards, that's something to keep in mind. Now, battery life hasn't changed that much. Both models are rated for around 10 hours of web browsing or video watching. The A17 Pro chip in the Mini 7 is a bit more efficient, so you might see a slight improvement. In my experience, they both get you through a full day, but don't expect a huge difference here. One future-proofing feature on the Mini 7 is Apple Intelligence. This isn't available on the Mini 6, but with iOS 18.1, the Mini 7 will support it. This means on-device processing, improved Siri functions, and machine learning upgrades, which could become more relevant over time as Apple releases more features. So, should you upgrade? Here's the final breakdown. If you're a power user, someone who games, multitasks, or uses creative apps, the Mini 7's A17 Pro chip, extra RAM, faster USB-C, and Apple Pencil Pro support are big wins. You'll feel the difference in your day-to-day use, and the boost in performance makes it a solid upgrade. If you're a casual user with the Mini 6, you might not need the upgrade. The A15 chip still handles everyday tasks well, and unless you're after that extra speed boost, extra RAM, or Pencil Pro support, the Mini 6 can definitely keep up. For professionals like those in aviation, architecture, or content creation, the Mini 7's improvement in processing power, storage options, and even connectivity features make it a practical future-proof choice. And here's a tip: if you're thinking about upgrading, consider trading in your Mini 6. Apple offers a pretty good trade-in value for it, which can bring the Mini 7's cost down substantially. So if you've been on the fence, trading in just might make the upgrade worth it. But let me know in the comments, are you upgrading or are you sticking with the Mini 6? And if you're not upgrading, what features would have made you go for it? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button if this breakdown helped you, and subscribe for more tech content. Catch you in the next one.